led me to do my research. And I studied the psychology broadly, my doctoral research in psychology. I studied the psychology of violence and nonviolence. I really wanted to understand basically how, when we look at the violence in the world in general, whether it's violence toward humans or violence toward animals, we can see that, atrocities throughout human history and, and everyday violence is largely enabled, by a populace, because a populace turns away from a reality that they feel that they can't face, right? And when we look at the transformation of these atrocities, they have generally been transformed because a group of people chooses to bear witness to them and encourages others to bear witness as well. So I really wanted to know, what is it that makes us turn away? What is the psychology? What's going on? And how can we work to change this? And so this was what led me to do my work on the psychology of eating animals. And I really looked at the psychological mechanisms that really causes us to shut down our minds and hearts, or cause us to shut down our minds and hearts. And then I expanded that research over the years to be, to include the psychology of oppression, more broadly. And so I don't need to get into any details of that, but that was what really brought me to the work, what led me to the work that I do today. And, and to what we're going to be talking about today, which is the paradox of how it's the sensitive people in the world who are often the most deeply affected by injustices and by harm to humans and to animals. And it's also those of us who are most sensitive who are in some ways most likely to turn away because it's so painful for us. We're more easily dysregulated. And, dysregulation, for people who aren't familiar with that term, is it's the nervous system being out of balance. So when you're dysregulated, it means your nervous system is out of balance. You're basically in a state of fight, flight, or freeze. And you could be mildly dysregulated, or you could be extremely dysregulated, which means to be flooded. And people typically feel unsafe when they feel dysregulated. So if you're a sensitive person and you know that witnessing violence causes you to be dysregulated, you're going to be more likely to avoid that, And I'm not just talking about, witnessing graphic imagery, which I don't advocate that people do if they can avoid doing that. I'm talking about just even becoming aware of a problem. For many of us who are sensitive, the world is just not set up for sensitive people, as I'm sure listeners know very well. And there's a tendency to become increasingly self-protective because, you turn on your computer, you walk out the door, you have no idea what you're going to be encountering. And it's not easy being a sensitive person in an insensitive world. So a lot of times, we also may turn away because we feel helpless, right? And nobody wants to feel helpless, but for a sensitive person, feeling helpless can be even more painful, right? Because we feel everything so deeply. And sensitive people tend to also be conscientious, like, as you said, really caring. We care so deeply, not just about what's happening in the world, but about our own impact on others.
Are there